Is O.J. Simpson passing away at the age of 76, confirmed by the family. This after a long battle with prostate cancer that, again, many in the public were not privy to. The football star, and then most notably known, obviously, the infamous American here for standing for the double murder trial back in '95, and then acquitted of that. Again, the appellate advisor, should he be convicted, there would be an appeals process. The appellate advisor would have been, or was, in fact, Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz joins us live now on the phone. Alan, good to see you, and thank you for picking up the call on this day. As we see those photos, and a lot of our minds go back to some of his most notable moments, but arguably the most notable moments, aside from his lengthy NFL football career, obviously college career in football as well. He's had several different movie roles as well, but many remember, again, the white Bronco, the trial that he's stood for, and then the attorneys that were surrounding him, and then you were a part of this. I know you even have a book about this. Can you talk to us when you found out about the passing of O.J. Simpson? What went through your mind the moment that news broke?
Well, I knew he had been sick and suffering from cancer, so it was not a great surprise to me. I was saddened. I didn't know him well personally. Obviously, I worked with him very closely during the trial, visited him in prison, was in the courtroom the moment he tried on the glove, and so I was there for some of the highlights of the case. It's a very important case in American history. It divided the country along racial lines. Also, it showed that a person, whether guilty or innocent, could be framed for a crime, and the police created a piece of evidence against him, a bloody sock, which had blood which was poured from a test tube instead of coming from the crime scene. And the jury saw through that. We exposed it. And he was acquitted not so much on the theory that he was or wasn't innocent or guilty, but on the theory that when the government tampers with evidence, there can't be trust in the rest of the evidence. So it became an important case. And I spoke to him occasionally after the verdict, but not very often.
Can you talk to us maybe about what those conversations were like when he was dealing with these legal challenges? How was he as a client?
He was very smart. He participated very actively in his own defense. I remember being in the side room with him after he tried the glove on and it didn't fit. And he wanted very much to testify, and I said to him, "We've already testified. You put on the glove in front of the jury and said it was too small, and you had the best of all possible worlds. You spoke to the jury, you essentially testified, and you weren't cross-examined. So please don't testify." And he didn't testify. There were those like F. Lee Bailey who very much wanted him to testify, but in the end he didn't. He testified in a civil case, and he lost that. So I think it was the right decision not to testify in the criminal case.
Is that probably the most memorable moment that you would have had with O.J. Simpson, Alan? Again, working through this case and remembering, again, giving him a little bit of advice in terms of testifying?
Yeah. Well, I was sitting literally 5 feet away from him when he tried the glove on. And as soon as I saw that the glove didn't fit, I realized we had a really good chance of winning. And it was the prosecution in the case who made the blunder of trying it on in front of the jury. Under California law, they could have had him try it on outside the jury, and they would have seen it didn't fit, and they wouldn't have then created the embarrassing moment where they haven't put him on in front of the jury, and the jury saw that it didn't fit. So it was a memorable moment. I've had a long career of 60 years, so I've had lots of memorable moments, but this was an important one.
Professor, O.J. Simpson also wrote a book, If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer here. Can you talk to us about the significance behind this book and the timing of it all?
Well, it was a stupid thing to do. I told him the moment he got acquitted, do what Klaus von Bülow did. I had Klaus von Bülow's lawyer. Disappear. Nobody wants to hear from you. And Klaus von Bülow went off to England, never gave interviews, and lived a good life. But O.J. Simpson insisted on staying in the public light, and writing that book was a foolish book. And he paid a heavy price for it.
We look back to, during this time, you think back to the 90s and watching this play out, and I mentioned this earlier on the broadcast, as I'm sure you might have been one of those as well. 95 million estimated to tune in to the infamous white Bronco chase that happened after the homicide, the double homicide was reported. Does this take you back to that time?
Yeah, I was not his lawyer at the time. I was watching the NBA finals or the NBA playoffs when it happened. And I said to my family, who I was watching with, looks like he's probably guilty. Otherwise, why would he be running away? Also, we thought he might have tried to kill himself. But that became a very memorable moment.
Yeah. Again, the news of his passing was published on X. The account had not been active since mid-February or so, just around the time of the Super Bowl. But he did release a video talking about some reporting, perhaps, that he had entered into hospice. So again, this is one of the final videos that we've seen posted on social media publicly. This was O.J. Simpson back in February. We can watch this.
I have to run now.